Hello guys, this is Charles1K92 here, and today is week 2 of our weekly countdown all the way to Assassin's Creed Origins. Now for this week, as I said from my last week's video, that we are going to try and see if we can meld in Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood and Revelations all together in one video. Now, we need to kind of figure out how we're going to do this, so I thought why don't we go by release dates for all 3 titles. So I'm going to take a look now. So, we're going to start off with Assassin's Creed 2. Now, when did this game release? Assassin's Creed 2 released to us in 2009, in November for North America on the 17th, Australia on the 19th, and EU, UK on November the 20th. And Japan got this on December 3rd. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood released a year later in 2010. On November the 16th for America, November the 18th for Australia, and November the 19th for the EU and the UK. Now this was for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 releases. And then finally for Revelations. So, on Revelations it released worldwide on November the 15th, 2011 for just the consoles, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Okay, so that's our release dates gotten out of the way. So, now we're going to take a look at what roughly changed between these 3 titles from the very first game. Well, for starters, we've got a new time period, which is set around the Renaissance period of Italy throughout the multiple cities that we have to go to. So these are Florence, Tuscany, Monteriggioni, we have the mountainous areas, which technically you can count as a map as well, Forli, and finally Venice. There was also another map which we got at the very end, which was Rome. A very small map that we had to go through, but nonetheless. Then for Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, we were purely set in Rome, so we went through the Renaissance period with this, changing the standards. And then finally for Revelations, we left Italy into the eastern part of the world, which was to Constantinople, or otherwise known as Istanbul. So, who do we play as throughout these changing times? We're certainly not playing as Altair because we're in the 15th century. Or coming to the end of it at least, during the time that this new protagonist is around. So this new protagonist that we're talking about is Ezio Auditore. Now this guy, he is a very mysterious figure throughout most of the games, but we get to know him from the first game, which is AC2. So, when do we meet him? Well, we actually meet him when he is born. So, we see him get born into the world. Then we somehow go forward a little bit through time, so we time skip from him being a child to him being a teenager. And he is quite going out. He's the hit with the ladies, he likes to drink, he likes to party, he likes to have all the fun. Generally because his father is in banking, and banking is one of the best jobs to be in at the time. He's also known with influential figures such as Lorenzo de' Medici. He knows a few other people as well, like Leonardo da Vinci as well, and not to mention Niccolo Machiavelli later on in the story. So, what happened? Why has he now become an assassin? Well, it's because it's his birthright for one, but also he got thrown into it for a very different reason. So, the only reason why he joined the Assassins, or he became part of the Brotherhood, was because of what happened to his family. There was a conspiracy that's gone round across Italy that is set to change the events of history itself. So, his father, which is Giovanni Auditore, who is already an assassin, discovered this plot. Now, if you guys are interested, I did make a Let's Play of this a while ago, where we went through the movie, to the games, and to the last movie. So there's going to be, at the end of this video, a link to that playlist. So anyway, so Giovanni discovers this secret. It's that the Templars have somehow come back after their supposed, execution during the beginning of the 14th century, I think. So anyway, Giovanni then realises that he has to try and stop this, but the Templars are smart enough to manoeuvre around him and to turn his allies against Giovanni, which does work. So Giovanni, Federico and Pinduccio, the latter two are Ezio's brothers, were sentenced to execution near the Palazzo della Signoria. Now Ezio at that time gathered all the equipment that he needed to take to the Gonfaloniere, who was some kind of judge that Giovanni was friends with. But this so-called judge decides to turn with the Templars instead, causing his father and brothers to be murdered in a sense. So basically, this whole storyline for AC2 is Ezio getting revenge for the people who had betrayed him and his family. starting off with the Pazzi family, then the Barbarigos, and then any of the conspirators that worked with them. So Ezio hunted them all down and killed them all. And this was during between the timelines, well, I don't think I have it up anymore, but it's during between the timelines of 1476 up until the point of 1499. So that's where it goes between those two time periods. Modern day for AC2. Desmond escapes Abstergo with Lucy Stillman, who was the girl who we were able to speak to during the first game. So they escape with the memory core from the Animus so they can relive Ezio's memories in a much more safer place under assassin control. We get to meet two new assassins at this point known as Rebecca Crane and Sean Hastings. Rebecca is somebody who designs the Animus 2.0 and she runs it, so she's in full control. Sean Hastings is historian, archiver, and he's an intel sender for the other assassin cells dotted around the Earth. And Lucy, she plays as like double agent spy, so although she was working with Abstergo, she's real allegiances with the assassins. So anyway, their main priority is to find out what Ezio discovered during his time as being an assassin. Well, nearly at the end of the game, Ezio comes in contact with an Apple of Eden, which was found in Cyprus by the Templars. Ezio manages to take this away from them and prevent them from getting to a Grand Vault, which is underneath the Vatican. However, there's a second piece of Eden that's needed, which is the Papal Staff, which apparently is known as the Staff of Eden. Now, both of these pieces of Eden have got different products and different ways that they can do stuff. So with the Apple, it's able to create illusions, as we spoke about, and it's also able to control and bend people to its will. Whereas with the Papal Staff, it does something completely different. It does control people, but it doesn't do it so as the Apple. So basically, if someone were to wield the Papal Staff, they're able to inspire not just great will, but I think it's also to like inspire fear if the wielder allows it to. Basically, it can really force people to do stuff. Whereas the Apple, it can still do the same thing, but the Staff somehow amplifies it, I guess. So our main enemy at this point is Rodrigo Borgia. He's the one who architected Giovanni's death and his brothers. Now, not his brothers, and his sons. So Ezio is hell-bent on killing this guy. Now, Rodrigo eventually does get the Papal Staff because he becomes Pope, and he also gains the Apple that Ezio had with him. Basically, having the two together unlocks the vault. Now, Rodrigo thought that he was the prophet, he was the one that could do this, but apparently he isn't. It's Ezio. Ezio's the one who's allowed to go in and learn the truth. So after this, Ezio beats the Pope in not just in combat, but also in a fist fight. He then gains access to the vault, and then we see a... It's very hard for me to explain it, but more or less we were able to see a moving hologram of someone from the first civilization, from the Isu period, who is called Minerva, one of the ancient Roman goddesses. She then tells Ezio what happened to the Earth many thousands of years ago. But this message isn't for him, it's for Desmond, who's living his life through the Animus. So in any case, upon hearing this message, Ezio is a bit confused. And that's the end of AC2, in regards to the Animus session anyway. Desmond, Lucy, and Sean and Rebecca realise that Abstergo have found out where they are. Lucy then gives Desmond a hidden blade, which now Desmond is now profound to use because he's been in the Animus for a certain period of time and he's experienced a bleeding effect. What a bleeding effect is, if you stay in the Animus for too long, basically certain traits and certain abilities tend to pierce through into your own, well, mind and body, as it were. So the best example is Subject 16. Subject 16 was kept in the Animus for days and weeks at a time, sometimes even a month, and which this caused him to have a psychological breakdown, not realising where he was, who he was, and basically what time period he was in. So with Desmond though, they have to be much more careful, letting him stay in the Animus for a little bit less time, but it's still long anyway. So Desmond picked up these abilities to use, obviously, his hidden blade more efficiently, eagle vision, and some other skills that he learnt. In any case, now, Desmond and Lucy fight off the Templars. They then flee, and they need to go to another hiding place. Now, in between this, there was a comic book series that took place in between these two games, where the other assassin cells were after something, but Desmond was the only one who had the genetic DNA for a particular ancestor. But that's neither here nor there. So we're done in AC2. Now we're going to AC Brotherhood. The modern day assassins find a place to stay, which is Monteregione, and they find they're able to go into the inner sanctum, and they stay there because it blocks any form of cellular signal, because the Templars are able to go from a satellite to phone stuff, so they're able to track people anywhere, in a sense. So Desmond then continues to relive Ezio's memories, and basically Brotherhood kicks off with where AC2 left off. So Ezio leaves Rome with his uncle, which is Giovanni's brother, and they leave Rome to go back to Monteriggioni. Monteriggioni is attacked by the Templars, led by Cesare Borgia, who is Rodrigo Borgia's son. Mario dies, so this is Ezio's uncle, by Cesare's hands. Ezio is wounded in battle, Monteriggioni is lost, and thus we still have to continue on going with the story. So Ezio then arrives in Rome mysteriously. He's given a new set of clothes, new hidden blade, and basically he goes out into the world. So when he goes out, we realise that the Borgia influence in Rome is very powerful. They're basically oppressing the people there. So Ezio, along with Machiavelli, who disagreed with Ezio at the end of AC2 to AC Brotherhood, where he disagreed with him sparing Rodrigo's life. So we meet up with him at some point in Rome. He then shows Ezio what he needs to... Well, not show Ezio what he needs to do, but basically Machiavelli is trying to undermine the Borgia's influence, but he's doing a very poor show of it. He actually doesn't know what to do. Whereas in Ezio's case, us being the player, we know what we need to do. We need to kill the Templars and replace them with somebody who's less Templarish. So anyway, Ezio gets this idea of getting rid of the Borgia's influence. Now the Borgia set up towers in certain locations in Rome, where they can oppress the people in certain districts. So Ezio decides to kill the Templar captain there, and basically the Templar influence is gone. Which means that Ezio is able to purchase stuff in that part of the sector, whether it be horse stables, armour shops, artists, you name it, Ezio can buy it, within reason. So this brings us back into the economy side, which was another thing which did change as well, where currency is now, basically, you need to buy stuff now if you want to progress in the game. Swords, armour, weapons, you name it, and medicine as well. So, we now understand this. Another thing which Ezio then realises is this, that he needs to have other allies. Now, in Assassin's Creed 2, we were also introduced to 3 new factions, which I didn't mention, but I'm going to mention it now because they're more prevalent. So, you've got your Thieves Guild, which are basically thieves. They steal money, but you can hire them. You've also got mercenaries. Again, the clue's in the name. These guys will fight for you as long as you pay them with the right price. And finally, you have the courtesans. Basically, they are prostitutes. So basically, you pay them, they go and distract the guards, and they lead them away. Basically, that's what all 3 of these factions do. These are here to distract the guards while you go and do what you need to do. So when we arrive in Rome, Ezio needs to establish contact with these 3 guilds. Now, he goes to the courtesans. Now, these have a madam who isn't really interested in the assassin cause, more or less in for partying and whatnot. She dies, not by Ezio's hand, but by a set of bandits who have kidnapped her and tried to sell her off. Which Ezio tries to save her, but he can't because they kill her. So Ezio takes the money that he stole from bandits and also from the citizens of Rome, and he rebuilds their brothel. When he does so, he finds that his mother Maria and his sister Claudia are actually there in Rome. Claudia says that she'll run the brothel, and Ezio isn't too happy about it, but she says, I don't give a fuck, I'm doing this because I want to be a part of your life, because you weren't here for the last 20 years. So she does this. Ezio tasks her in finding Catalina Sforza, who is a very powerful ally to the assassins, and he needs her free. So, that's it. Moving on to the Thieves Guild, Ezio arrives to where the thieves are hiding, which is roughly in the countryside of Rome, but within its boundary. He then finds it's La Volpe, somebody that we met in AC2, who is part of the Assassin Brotherhood. Now, La Volpe turns around and says that he wants something to do with their HQ. Ezio suggests making it look like an inn, so La Volpe says an excellent idea, and Ezio sees the renovations. However, La Volpe has got his own difficulties, where there's these bandits which keep on harassing the people of Rome, and also they keep on attacking his thieves. So Ezio says that he'll help out the best way that he can, which he does. And finally, the mercenaries. They have a barracks which is set near the militarised district of Rome. Now, the mercenaries, who are led by Bartolomeo, who we also met in AC2, who is also an assassin, says that he's been harassed by the French forces and Papal forces. So he's being attacked on both sides. Ezio decides to help him out by getting rid of the Papal influence which is there, which is another assassin, well, not assassin tower, but a Templar tower. Once this is done, Bartolomeo can now focus his eyes and gaze on the French. However, his barracks is in poor disarray. Ezio says that he'll help getting it better, fixed. He does this. Bartolomeo thanks you for this, and he says that there's also competitions underneath the barracks where you can, fist fight and whatnot. And not to mention that all three of these have other competitions as well, basically to use their skills and whatnot, where Ezio can get their... No, not skills, what is it? If you do these challenges that they've set up, basically you can get a greater discount, and also you can unlock certain abilities for the mercenaries, for the thieves, and also for the courtesans. Anyway, now there was another thing about this as well. Bartolomeo's wife gives Ezio assassination targets via Machiavelli. So basically the pigeon coops are dotted around Rome. You go to them and there's a target that you have to go and assassinate. Or not you just yourself, maybe one of your assassins that you get to recruit, which I'm getting to now. So once Ezio has established these 3 points of contact, eventually he realises that the assassins need to build up their forces as well. So as more towers that you take down, more recruits you can bring into your brotherhood. You do this, which Ezio does do. Eventually, you whittle down Cesare Borgia's somewhat influence in Rome, and he has to come back to try and fix it. You stop him, but he somehow manages to escape again anyway. Cesare kills his father, Rodrigo, via poisoning, and then it's a race to the Apple of Eden because, as I said previously, Cesare is taking the apple from Ezio. So you make your way to the Vatican again, only this time the apple is kept in a secret place. So Ezio takes it, and then he uses it to finally end Cesare's reign in Rome. They battle again in Vienna, in Spain, where Cesare loses to Ezio for the final time. Ezio is about to kill him, but Cesare spouts out that you can't kill me, no man can murder me. Well, Ezio then says, well, I'll leave you then in the hands of fate. So basically Ezio picks him up and just drops him off the battlements, seeing if gravity will kill him. And then that's the end of Brotherhood. So, we're now coming to Revelation. So there's something symbolic about each of these games. So, Assassin's Creed 2 is revenge. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, I believe, is something to do with justice. And finally, Revelation is the revelations of how this is all coming to the end. Ezio now is mentor of the Assassin Brotherhood. He gained this title near the end of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. He has left Italy to go to Masyaf, which is where the assassins used to live. The only reason why he's going there is because he discovered a letter written by his father a year before he was born, stating that there was something ancient and powerful also beneath Masyaf, which is Altair's library, and there's so many secrets there about their order that, they need to find out. So Ezio arrives there. It's surrounded by Templars. He gets captured, but he frees himself. He chases down, he finds where the library is anyway. He then realises he needs keys, but there's also this book which also directs you to where the keys are. So he then gets out of Masyaf, pursues the Templar captain who has the book, kills the captain, and then he finds out that he has to go to Constantinople. He does this, and he arrives in the city. He befriends a prince named Prince Suleiman, and he also meets up with the assassins in Constantinople, led by none other than Yusuf Tazim. Yusuf then shows Ezio around. Then afterwards, it's basically, besides Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, with Revelations, you can instantly explore the city once you're off the boat. And you're able to go to all the districts, liberate them from all Templar influence if you wish, and then also you can go and hunt down where these books are. Well, they're not just books, but the key locations as well. So you then do this, you help Yusuf out on a couple of times, and then basically you're on your own in a sense of gathering what you need to gather. Something else which changed in Revelations was this. So you have a hook blade now, so you're able to use your hook blade to zip line between 2 different locations if you need to. It's also used in combat to steal money, also to kill people obviously, and then finally it's also used to manoeuvre around guards as well, should you wish. Now, there's also bomb making as well. So you can make different kinds of explosives. You can make them to be lethal, non-lethal, or to distract. It's entirely up to you and how you want to use them. The Brotherhood mechanic still stays the same. You can use your assassins to kill targets long range, and you can also use all of them to basically do like an arrow storm effect to kill any surrounding enemies near you, should you wish. So what happens? Ezio befriends a few assassins obviously while he's in Constantinople. He meets a woman. He really likes her, she really likes him, and eventually, at the end of the game, Ezio does manage to get all the keys. He goes back to Masyaf, he unlocks the door, only to find that there's nothing in this library, it's basically empty. Only to see a corpse of Altair himself sitting, obviously in the skeletal remains, dead, holding a sixth key to basically explain why this is the way it is. So basically everything was taken away, all the books, all the knowledge was sent away, gone. But it was to hold one thing, Altair's piece of Eden, his apple. So once this is done, Ezio finds this and he decides, he's thinking about it, he's looking at it going, should I take this? No, this should stay here. I have seen enough for one lifetime. And then this triggers a very unique event. This triggers something called a nexus. Now this nexus is a very complicated way to communicate between two people at two different points in time. How does this work? So someone from the first civilization must trigger this. They basically set up a room and they do it from their end. However, they do something to the piece of Eden that they're communicating with. So basically they program it so that only the right person can activate this. In Desmond's case, because he can't be there at that time and that piece of Eden did get destroyed, not at the time that Ezio was using it, but it got destroyed in the present day, was that Ezio was the only one to activate it so that way they can communicate between Desmond. So, through doing this, Ezio was able to actually see Desmond for the first time. Desmond appears in a very goldish kind of shadow. Same way how the first civilization present themselves to Ezio for the first time. Ezio then is going to explain Desmond the truth about what's going on, but as far as we saw in the gameplay, he vanishes and thus we are taken inside the Nexus where we meet Tinia, or Jupiter, whatever his name is. He's somebody from the first civilization and he refers to Desmond as a cipher. So, Tinia explains about how they lived, how they died, and also the cataclysm. So, basically, a solar flare hits the Earth. The Earth is cooked, everyone dies. A few people live, which is 10,000 humans and very few of the first civilization. And then eventually, people rebuild. And then we get the world that we're living in at this point today. Desmond then realises what he has to do and he wakes up from his coma. Now, you probably guessed I didn't explain this part about how he gets into the coma, so I'll do this now. So, how did we get into the coma for Revelations? Well, at the end of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Desmond, Lucy, Sean and Rebecca make their way to where Ezio hid his apple underneath the Colosseum. Now, the only reason why I want to keep this separate is because it's a little bit complex on how I have to explain this. So Desmond makes his way through the Colosseum while Lucy, Sean and Rebecca have to hide the van that they've driven in with, and they stay within Rome in near contact with Desmond. Desmond makes his way underground, and then he ends up going the same place where Ezio went many centuries ago. Desmond makes his way through the certain challenges that are presented before him, and he then makes his way into a church. Now, I cannot remember the name of the church, but it's historically thing, whatever. So then eventually he lets everybody else in through the church, and then there's another set of puzzles which Desmond unlocks to gain access to the vault. They go down into the vault. Then there's another set of puzzles, but there has to be a password which is spoken verbally, which is 72. Don't know why that's relevant, but it is. Desmond then makes his way across the room, activating certain switches. However, there's something which is also going on. There's another First Civilization person that we get to meet. Her name is Juno. Now, it only appears that Desmond is the only one who's able to hear her during this point whenever she's talking to him. Reason being is this. So when Desmond first sees her, he's already underground. And she says something in regards to something about guiding Desmond into the place that he has to go to. Desmond then says kind of out loud, "Who are you? What's going on?" Lucy's able to hear this over the headset and she says, "What's going on? Is everything okay?" Desmond is smart enough to say, "Yeah, I'm fine, there's nothing to worry about." So he makes his way into the temple and he continues to see her as he gets closer and closer Eventually, near the end, when he activates all the switches inside the temple to get to the Apple of Eden, he then says again, you know, did you guys catch any of this sort of thing that's been going on? Because there's something in this room. Lucy says, no, there's nothing here. What you want about? Anyway, so this again gets ignored. And finally, we get to the point where Desmond, for the first time, gets to hold the apple. So, he picks it up from the pedestal, and he is frozen in place, along with the other 3 assassins, who, when they need to find out where the Grand Temple is, because this is important. But the apple shows them that when Desmond touches it, everything stops. Time freezes. Juno then speaks to Desmond, saying that Desmond will be the one to do what he has to do, and only she remains to be found. Now, I don't know who this she is, but she must be a descendant of Eve, because Desmond is a descendant of Adam, I guess, because this is going by whatever their logic is. Now, while Desmond is holding the apple, Juno influences Desmond to kill Lucy. Now, there's a reason for this, which I'll explain when we do our Week 3 discussion for Assassin's Creed 3. Now, Desmond kills Lucy, so he stabs her with his hidden blade, she dies, he goes into a coma, which then kickstarts us into Revelations. So yeah, Lucy dies under certain pretenses. The apple then is used by Desmond yet again to more or less kind of gain access to the Grand Temple, which is in America. And that's the end of Assassin's Creed Revelations. There's also another character that we do get to meet in Assassin's Creed Revelations, which I kind of skipped again. We do meet Subject 16. He basically helps Desmond use Animus Island, where we're stuck in when Desmond's in a coma. And Desmond's also able to relive his own memories 5 times. Basically when he was a child, when he was a teenager, when he left the Assassins, when he found himself wandering America, and then finally when he got captured by Abstergo for AC1. And that was generally it. There was also some DLC as well. For Revelations, there was the, I call it Subject 16 DLC. And we learned Subject 16's name is actually Clay Kazmarek. And Clay joined the Assassins probably at a younger age. He infiltrated Abstergo. He was forced to relive his ancestors' memories. And then eventually he was the one who discovered that Lucy was the one who betrayed the Assassins. She turned coat while she was in Abstergo. She was the one who prevented Subject 16 from leaving, and that's the reason why Subject 16 killed himself, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so that is finally it. I don't think there's anything else I can roughly say. I don't think. I mean, there are other DLCs, of course, from the other 2 games, but they only progress the story a little bit, so there isn't that really much. If you guys really want to find out more, I suggest that you click on the link that's going to be showing up somewhere here or here on the video, which will go onto my playlist. Also, a subscription will be great as well, because, you know, 1 subscriber, you know, it does somewhat in a sense help out my channel, but, you know, at the end of the day, a subscription is a subscription. If you do subscribe, well done for you. Like the video if you want to, a like is always appreciated, and leave a comment down below. It's the only thing I can say. We're getting closer to Assassin's Creed Origins, everybody. I'm getting hyped. I actually am getting excited about this game. Perhaps maybe on my last week video, so not last week, but my last video week that I'll do, which will be a few days before Revelations, it might be one of those, it might be a day where the game might come early, it might not come early, I don't know. But if it does, great, I will do an unboxing video. But if not, then I'll continue on as I have done beforehand, and on that last week we will be talking about Syndicate, and we will be talking about Origins and the hype for it. So I have been Charles1K92. I've enjoyed doing this. Thank you very much. See you next time.